Hello, everyone. This is Tommy Lee Hayes Brown with Rito Recognition. I have the honor of presenting to you my friend, Roy Saunderson. Roy's going to teach us how to conduct a recognition preference interview. Roy is our Chief Learning Officer and Recognition Strategist at Rito Recognition Solutions. He's also the author of Practicing Recognition, the first in the Rito Recognition series of practical, strategic books on giving employee recognition the right way. Roy is also author of Giving the Real Recognition Way. He's a regular contributor to Training Magazine and Incentive Magazine, and was chosen as one of the 25 most influential people in the incentive industry in 2017. Roy is considered one of the world's foremost thought leaders in employee recognition and engagement. He consults and educates leaders and employee workforces in companies, governments, and associations around the world. We're very, very excited to have him with us. Roy lives in McGrath, Alberta. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
That's right.
With his awesome, lovely wife, Irene. I really hope you get a chance to meet her. She is really awesome. But without further ado, we'll take Roy in the meantime. I'll hand it over to Roy Saunderson. Hi, Roy.
Thank you very much, Tommy Lee. And I thought this would be an interesting topic to cover, having how to conduct a recognition preference interview, because we always talk about finding out what the preferences are for recognition of our employees, but we don't often talk about how to find out. So I thought it would be important to try and create this process, if you will, for creating a preference interview, a recognition preference interview. So I just want to set the stage a little bit and go through the needs for why we need to have this. And again, a little bit more about me. I've been in the industry for over 20 years on employee recognition. I eat, drink, sleep, write, speak, teach all about employee recognition. So there's probably not too many questions that I've not had posed to me over the topic over the years. So this whole issue of finding out, what do you like, what do you not like about recognition, we don't often stop to find out. And I think that's what I want to set the stage with, why we need a recognition preference interview. Employees, they all want something memorable, meaningful, motivational with the recognition that they want to receive. And they also want you to know what their likes and dislikes are. And you don't want to have happen one of those kind of scenarios where there's a side conversation with an employee and their peers saying, I hate it when my manager does this, when they give recognition. Or maybe you've had the scenario where, I've heard stories where an employee is walking through the hallways and their senior leader goes by, doesn't say boo, doesn't acknowledge them, doesn't say hello. And yet when that same employee goes on stage to receive an award, there's the senior leader all smiles and shaking hands, and everything's supposed to be wonderful, but it doesn't mean much. And these days, we all want greater personalization. We've been accustomed through the technology side of the world we live in, through Amazon, Netflix, where it is picking up on what you like and don't like as far as reading and viewing, and it's recommending options that they think you might like based on your likes and dislikes. So if you start thinking that you can personalize your recognition better through having this recognition preference interview, that should really help you. And in many ways, I think sitting down with an employee to even hold a recognition preference interview is an act of recognition in and of itself. So I think these are some great reasons for why you should have a recognition preference interview. And I'm going to just share some ideas with you. In fact, I'm just going to keep it simple, 4 ways to have a great recognition preference interview. And that's what I want to be able to give you today. And in that first stage of things, you really want to set things up right for your interview. You want to set the stage for the recognition preference interview. This is going to be a foreign experience to a lot of your employees. So, this is new if you haven't done one of these before. So let's take a look at some ideas for how you can set the stage. Of course, first off, you need to explain why you even want to do this. You need to tell your employee that you want to do a better job at giving them better recognition. And you need to make sure this is a comfortable setting. Let them know they can ask you questions as well. They could even ask you your likes and dislikes about recognition. So make this a very conversational event. Don't make this an interrogation, and show them and tell them how you could use the information that you receive from them. And make sure that at the end of the interview, you share with them, at least one item from the list of items that you get from them that you could commit to doing. This is your commitment for making an improvement with the recognition that you give. And hopefully the information you get from the interview is going to give you that kind of insight. And I think you'll find it kind of fun to learn more about your employees. So it's a great tool for learning more about their recognition needs. Now, that's kind of going into the interview itself. I want you to kind of go to the prequel, if you will, how you're going to prepare yourself ahead of time. What are some of the things that you could do before you conduct your recognition preference interview? Well, let's take a look. Well, I think it's very important that you tell the employee this is not a job interview. The outcome of this meeting isn't going to affect their performance ratings or anything like that. Put them at ease. In fact, if you have a desk, get out from behind the desk, come up right next to them. If you have comfortable chairs, sit in those. If you're in a cubicle setting, go to a conference room, but again, don't hide behind the conference desk or table. All right, so put them at ease. Let them know that the whole purpose behind this is to help give them better recognition. Now, at the same time, you kind of have to prepare yourself mentally and being open-minded about what you're going to hear, because some things might not be the most pleasant things you want to hear. You might hear about some times when you didn't do a good job at giving recognition. So you need to be a little thick-skinned. You need to kind of receive that feedback candidly and just make note of it, all right? So be an active listener as you learn each employee's recognition likes, dislikes, wants, and needs. So really make note of the things that you hear. Feed back to them what you've heard and being an active listener. Tell them, so you're saying you would prefer not to receive your milestone recognition awards in a public setting. Is that right? Yeah. And so you find out that how would you like to receive it? Well, just one-on-one with you. All right. You can accommodate that. Ask how they felt about previous recognition you have given them. Think back to something that's just happened recently. Say, how did I do? What's one thing I did right? What's one thing I could do better at? Learn from this. And then obviously share, the reality of life, the things you can't do, the things you can do, but commit again to that one thing you're going to improve at to give them better, more meaningful, motivational recognition for them. All right. So this is how you can prepare yourself ahead of time. Also, you can also do a little bit of homework yourself. What do you already know about this employee? Think about, make note of that. Come in prepared. So list what you already know about them. And also, you've probably seen other people recognize this employee. So make a note of what you have seen others recognize them for and the kind of comments you've kind of heard given to them. Um, as you know, if people have offices or if they have cubicles, whatever the setup is, if it's on a factory floor and they've got a workstation, no matter where it is, see if there are any specific items on display that give you an insight into their interests or preferences and things that they like to do in their spare time. And kind of make a note of those things and see if you can explore more discussion about them when you meet with them. Now, where does this employee excel? Um, what were their, different types of recognition that you've seen that they've been given that they liked? Um, so make a note, kind of like your own preparation. What do you think their likes and dislikes are? And this is an opportunity in this interview to confirm or dispel those perceptions that you had and start gaining more insight yourself into what people like and don't like. I mean, it's an interesting, you have your own ideas and then you find out directly from them, they don't like certain things. And, I know one employee at Rideau who, I would have thought she would have loved to have gone forward up to the podium or stage to receive an award, only to find out that for those kind of situations, she's not the bubbly person that you want to have up on stage. She is a very private person. The emotions, the feelings, she wants to be acknowledged and recognized, but not up on a stage, not in front of lots of people. So you can be surprised by personality, the display of how they are in the workplace, only to find out that that doesn't quite fit when it comes to, say, a more formal recognition experience. So do your homework, find out what you can ahead of time, come up with your own ideas of what you think might be their likes and dislikes, and use that as part of the discussion, part of the conversation that you're going to have with each employee. And then you create a checklist of preferences. Find out, kind of create your own checklist. You've got your open-ended questions that you can obviously use, but have a kind of a standard checklist you can use with every employee. This will allow you to see some trends or patterns or ideas that you just hadn't thought of. Finding out a favorite drink, food item, favorite color, sports team, the hobbies, interests, family, just finding out how they spend their time. And you'll be amazed when you start looking at that private versus public presentation of recognition. Apparently, on average, 25 to 35% of employees do not want a public presentation of recognition. In fact, that percentage will go even higher as you start looking at the different professions based on the kind of interpersonal skill demand. So when you're looking at, say, engineers, accountants, librarians, they are more likely to not like a public presentation than they will privately. Now, this is the more stereotypic manifestation of most of those professions. It's not saying that everyone is going to feel that way, hence the reason why you need to do this recognition preference interview. So, find out how they best like to be recognized when they have some kind of public recognition. Is it to be done through an award, a certificate, some commendation? Find out what they like. Also find out, do they like that private recognition? If they want things more on a private level, is it to be from the boss themselves? Is it from a peer, a customer? Who do they like to be in the room, so to speak? Whose presence do they most admire and appreciate, depending on the nature of the recognition being given, for example? And again, when you're looking at being acknowledged by a manager or a leader, are there different levels of people that they admire and respect, and how that recognition might mean even more if one particular individual was doing the presentation or was present? So consider that. Find out what their feelings are towards the various leaders and managers of the organization. And I don't know about you, but recognition is a gift. It's just a surprise. But some people don't like surprises. So yeah, you need to find out whether they like surprises or whether they need to have it very planned out and known to them that they're going to get recognized. You don't want to ruin the recognition effect if it's a surprise and they're now just emotionally either embarrassed or upset by that experience. So conducting a recognition preference interview, you can have your open-ended questions, but make sure you create a checklist of ideas for preferences that will likely come up. Now, I want you to know that I'm going to give you a recognition guide in a minute, but I'm going to ask Tommy Lee if we've got any questions at this time that have come up from our participants today.
Yeah, we do. We have a couple.
All right.
So Genevieve says, should I their preference when they're first hired?
Oh, brilliant. This is lovely. I'll be honest with you, I hadn't thought of that. But, we do orientation, and we should include recognition in that orientation. I think this would be wonderful.
I don't see it being a bad thing. Matter of fact, you figure your first week of onboarding, what a great to a relationship when my manager wants to know how I want to be recognized.
I think it's a great idea from Genevieve there to conduct that right in the beginning stages of work. What a wonderful way to get to know someone, them to get to know you in a low-key way, but knowing that it's going to be meaningful for them, because how do I like to be recognized? And I'm going to share this on week one. This is great. What a stage setter. Yeah.
Absolutely. Versus doing it during an exit interview.
Oh.
Might be a little too late.
Right. And isn't that the truth? Because we hear how in many exit interviews, often if the people are able to be candid and transparent, they'll share that it was a lack of recognition that often caused them to leave.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Too little, too late.
Yeah.
I have Nora. What do you mean by active listening?
Oh, good point.
It sounds like she was actively listening by asking that question.
I agree with you, Tommy Lee. All right. So, Nora, active listening is very much confirming, repeating back what you've heard. And in this case, I think the implications behind what you heard. So what I'm hearing is you say you don't like public recognition. How would you feel if you were going to be acknowledged? How would you feel if it was just me doing that? Or how would you like to see that happen? Oh, well, you and maybe just some of my colleagues around the desk, whatever, or the office. I just don't want to go up on the podium, on the stage, So you're using that active listening by feeding back what the person said, but hopefully exploring a little bit of how you could actually improve your recognition for that individual.
Right. Very active listening is so important in managing, almost every aspect.
Very much so.
It's one of the best things you can do for your career, for your home life, anyone. It's just to be an active listener.
Very much so.
In all your relationships. Jackson says, I like your suggestion of doing some detective work to find out what makes them tick. I guess that's more of a comment.
Yeah, but I like how Jackson has picked up on detective work. I love detective work. I read thrillers, mysteries, and all those kinds of things. So I'm always trying to get to the root. But it's fun. You can be walking around and you see, a golf trophy up on someone's shelf, or you see a family picture, pride and joy. I mean, like Tommy Lee, you think about it, pride and joy of your four boys. I know you love scouting. Is it Miss Braden?
Yep.
Yeah, your lovely poodle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we can do a little homework by just exploring what's around. hopefully, I don't know always the relationship that people have on Facebook, boss
Right.
versus employee, but often, we get to know and see things. So it's not necessarily snooping. It's just being aware. That's
Right.
all I'm asking. And if you kind of increase that awareness, I think you'll pick up on some great ideas that you can at least use in the interview to find out how important those things are.
Yeah, exactly. So you come and say, "Hey, Tommy Lee, I was thinking about you," and give me dog cookies. Well, then you've won me over.
You bet. You bet. And hopefully the dog cookies are for Miss Braden, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I definitely share my dog cookies with her. And more. It says interview, and I'm assuming JJ is talking about the whole the recognition interview. Does this interview serve as set us up as managers to have to give recognition even if it's not warranted?
Oh,
So I
well,
think what he's saying is, if I'm asking you, how you like to be recognized, and this employee never gets recognized, does that set us up by asking that question in the first place?
and at the same time, I think you've got that foundation of knowledge about the individual. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're having, as you just shared earlier on in management, how active listening, if we're, coaching, working with our employees,
Mm-hmm.
I can't see how there couldn't be anything to recognize about an employee. I mean, why hire them if they're not good employees? So
Right.
I believe there's always going to be some good things along the way that you can recognize, even if it's encouraging someone in doing the best they can. Knowing some of these preferences could just be the icing to make that recognition and encouragement even better than it would have been without that knowledge.
Right. And maybe I'm just putting words in JJ's mouth because I don't know exactly what he or she was talking about. But maybe they're thinking more of lines of maybe formal recognition or something like that. But as you say, day-to-day recognition, there's always an opportunity.
Yes, yeah, and of course, we're not talking about just because you know this, therefore you must and always will give recognition. You got to go away and find everything. No, it's got to be naturally occurring. But I
Yep.
think this is just so wonderful, so foundational in giving more personal recognition is finding out. And a recognition preference interview is just a great exercise. We talk about in recognition practices and in the industry, we talk about giving meaningful, motivational, recognition.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
do we always know what is going to be meaningful or motivational to someone else?
Yeah.
And I think this activity, this just simple sit down, 15 minutes maybe at the most, once, as you say, the onboarding, as Genevieve was suggesting,
Mm-hmm.
wow, what a wonderful way to be able to get to know an employee and then give them the best recognition that you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the end of our questions.
All right, that's wonderful. So then let me just share with everyone that we'd love to be able to send them a recognition guide that literally helps you learn the recognition preferences of your employees. Just email me at Roy Saunderson and write recognition preferences in the subject heading, and we'll be pleased to send you this recognition guide to you to assist you as you conduct your recognition preference interviews with your employees.
That
And
is great. And you got your, I was just going to ask.
Here we go. So more, just further
Awesome.
contact information. I'm not going to read everything out, but certainly you can visit us at redo.com, learn more about recognition at authenticrecognition.com, our blog. And big thank you for attending and being a part of this. And we hope that you've benefited from learning more about how to conduct an effective recognition preference interview.
What a great webinar. Thank you. I don't think a lot of us think about, how simple it can be. It doesn't have to be a big major thing. It doesn't have to have big sit down for an hour. Like you said, 10, 15 minutes, kind of casually talk about how you like to be recognized. It'll go such a long way. So I thank you for bringing it to our attention. Right. Great webinar.
Thank you, Tommy Lee.
Great. And we will see you next time
All
here
right.
at Rideau. Thank you, Roy.
You bet. Take care.